Welcome back in, investors. In today's video, we're going to do a bunch of different things here. Number one, I want to talk about overall market valuation and how we should be looking at the S&P 500 as it progressed over the years. I want to do a best case scenario, a middle case scenario, and a worst case scenario on where valuation should be for the S&P 500. Because if things start getting a little frothy here, if we start getting confused, we can always revert back to valuation to understand what we're actually paying for. I also want to touch on some of the mega caps that are going on sale that are starting to get very, very interesting for me personally. And additionally, I also want to touch on small caps, an area that I think has been left for dead that is probably showing some of the best value I think I've ever seen. I don't want to waste your time, so let's get right into the video. So over the last month, the S&P 500 is down 5.99%. Most people want to attribute this to a correction, but what I'm attributing this to is that earnings are actually starting to contract here a little bit. Originally, we had forecasted for $268 worth of earnings, now down to $262. So we're starting to see earnings contract, and I directly correlate that with an S&P 500 down roughly 5 to 6%. We can see the synergy of contracting multiples because now we don't have as strong as growth. About a 1 to 2% decline in earnings could be impacting the market by a few percentage points as well. So I think you guys are starting to see the correlation here, and I think this is why it's important to understand where valuations can be. Now, historically, the S&P 500 is traded between 10 to about 20 times earnings depending on the year, but what we're starting to see is that multiples keep expanding as we mature as a country, and which makes sense because a larger part of the S&P 500 now is made up of technology where the earnings are a lot more resilient, the margins are a lot stronger, and these are really free cash flowing machines. These type of companies print dollars, and we've seen multiples really come in at higher lows here, showing that the way the S&P 500 has been diversified with technology has really led to a higher multiple to be paid for on this index, along with the fact that technology is a larger holding now. And so I can get behind the fact that we might have to pay a little bit more for an S&P 500 because of the earnings resilience and earnings growth within the index as a whole. A lot of the multiple expansion, I think, has been propped up with the fact that yields have been pretty much non-existent. We haven't seen yields pop above 2.5% in over 20 years. So for us to see now a competition for stocks, I do think that could compress multiples as well longer term, meaning that if the 10-year treasury stays between 4 and 5% pretty consistently, I do think that this will be a competition for stocks. There is no more TINA. And a 4.5 to 5% risk-free yield is something we definitely don't want to scoff at, especially when markets are trading at historically high levels. 2025 is projecting out to have $262 worth of earnings, with 2026 projected to have around $280 worth of earnings. Now, as I stated, I don't think we're going to see an S&P 500 trading. I really have a hard time seeing an S&P 500 trading at 15 times earnings. Worst case scenario is I think we have an S&P 500 trading between 17 and maybe 16 times earnings. In my opinion, this would be something of a mild recession. Now, obviously, if we go into a depression or if it gets a lot worse than this, then obviously I do think we can kind of see below 16. But for me personally, I just don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. I think a contraction scenario, which we're getting with the S&P 500 right now, as of right now, we are not heading into a recession, but I definitely think we can see by earnings and the data that we are contracting. And I would say between 17.5 to about 19.5 would actually make sense for a multiple here on contracting earnings. Now, mind you, we have an S&P 500 that has traded pretty darn close to 30 times earnings and is currently trading around 25 times earnings after this sell-off. Now, if we get a soft landing and growth reaccelerates, I think we're looking anywhere between 20 to about 25 times earnings. Now, this is not what I'm personally going to pay, but this is where I think we can trade pretty consistently. So if we meet in the middle and say 16.5 times earnings of 262, this gives us a 4,300 S&P. We'll call it 4,300 for easy numbers here. And I do think this could be a worst case scenario. Now we take 18.5 times earnings, meet in the middle of what I believe is contraction at this point in time. And I believe this is where we're possibly heading right now anyway. That basically puts us between 4,850 to maybe 5,000, which really would be at about an additional 11% decline here, basically giving us about a 20% decline to where I would have to start buying if there is no clear sight of a recession and it just looks like a contraction, with the knowledge of 2026 earnings coming in around 280. But then I think you have your best case scenario of about 23 times earnings times the 262 gives us around 60, call it 60-50. And in my personal opinion, I think this is a best case scenario. I think this is trade deals get done, political tension ends, we actually reaccelerate on growth, and I think you can start seeing the S&P 500 start breaking above 6,050. Now, mind you, we've had a hard time breaking above 6,100, so I find it pretty interesting here. I'm doing this live with you guys. You guys know that I've said 6,100 has been a really hard area for us to break and hold, and I think it's pretty interesting that the technicals, or I think it's pretty interesting that the historical fundamentals are basically telling us that should be an area with uncertainty of growth. Now, if we had reacceleration of growth, that would obviously project out 2026 numbers to be a little bit better, which then we could start seeing a S&P 500 push above 6,100. But I think with the contraction here of growth, uncertainty, political tension, inflation, and the fact that yields are a little bit more elevated is definitely giving a reason to why we should be trading possibly below 6,000 right now. If the contraction gets pretty serious, I think we could be looking at something like this. And if we do start talking about recession, then maybe we are looking at a pretty substantial decline, which is now going to lead us to Google. This is becoming a very, very interesting stock because is too much bad news priced into this? We're looking at historical valuations for Google. Over the last month, the market's down roughly 6%. We take a look at Google and we see Google is down almost 9% in 1 month. Now, this is leaving a pretty enticing valuation here. We have a company trading at 20 times earnings, looking closer to maybe 18 times forward earnings. And I do have some concerns here with Google losing market share. Obviously, CapEx is going to be a very, very large topic of conversation when we talk about all the mega tech companies right now. But to me, Amazon and Google keep coming up as maybe they're value traps, or they could be very strong value plays here. They recently acquired Wiz for $32 billion. Now, this was a company that they originally offered $23 billion for, and now are offering $32 billion. This is a historic deal, and I obviously think that they overpaid for this. Now the question becomes, can they scale this business really, really fast? And is that why that's why they're willing to pay a premium here and hurry up and get them under their umbrella? You know, really hard to say, only time will tell, but I do think that the market's looking at Google's losing market share. They're overpaying for acquisitions. I mean, for $32 billion, there could have been multiple cybersecurity companies they could have picked up for this much. Obviously, Google is getting aggressive on growing its security portfolio here. If this is successful, I do think it could offset any sort of market share that they're losing with search engines. And so I definitely think Google is sitting in value territory, but you definitely want to start seeing these types of investments pay off sooner than later. And for me personally, we are starting to get to an interesting point here with Google, even building in some safety here. Between $145 to about $150 a share is an ideal stock price that I'm personally looking at for Google, and we are knocking on that door as of right now. I think any sort of other market downturns or any sort of more bad news of maybe Google losing market share here could give us that buying opportunity. And as I stated, the bull case is that these recent acquisitions are going to offset any sort of market share that they may be losing in the future on search engine, which is now bringing me to a very interesting name here. The name of the company is Ring Central, ticker symbol RNG. This is obviously a small cap company here doing $2.4 billion in revenue with a $2.44 billion market cap. Now, this is a cloud business that allows for collaboration of the workforce, being able to multitask from different locations in a unique platform for collaboration. Now, the thing I want to point out is they are on the cusp of profitability. So company is not quite profitable yet, but we can see here that they've had nice, strong, steady revenue growth and earnings are starting to follow with a forward PE that's starting to look pretty cheap here at 6.3 times earnings. We have a low of $30, a high of $50. Now, the thing I find interesting is that Schwab actually does have a updated rating on this company. Now, if you're not familiar with Schwab ratings, they normally don't touch these small cap type companies. They're usually $10 billion or more, you'll see a rating on Schwab, but anything around 5 or less, I normally don't see a rating on it. And they give it a B rating, putting it in the 19th percentile for performance. Morningstar is right behind them with a 4-star rating. So now I'm just going to start plugging in their numbers here. Take a quick look at the balance sheet. Cash and cash equivalents are sitting around $242 million. Total debt sitting at $1.5 billion. So kind of high debt here. You know, this is definitely a little concerning to see that type of debt on the balance sheet for a smaller cap company. Would be considered a red flag, but we're still going to type in the numbers here. So the thing the market was down on is this company was getting priced in for 20 and 30% revenue growth. And we can see that in 2023, it shot down to 10%. And in 2024, it came down to 8.99%. So we've obviously seen the stock de-risk going from over $40 a share down to $26, $27. Now we are starting to see very strong EBITDA growth, and we're also starting to see earnings now possibly coming in here over the next couple of years. So this would be the time to take on the risk. So I want to be conservative with my growth rates. I'm going to use 5, 4, and 3% growth rates. When we compare RingCentral to its peers, we can see here they got almost 71% gross margins, sector median sitting at 51%. And then when we bring it down to net income, what we can start expecting, and EBITDA margins, this is a company that's probably going to do between 12 to 15% EBITDA margins when it starts maturing out here. They get their costs under control, and we're starting to steadily see that take place here. So we're going to use 10, 12, and 15% EBITDA margins. In the trailing 12 months, it's trading at around 17 times multiple to EBITDA. So we're going to use a little safety here. We're going to use a 16 multiple. We actually get a $26 stock price here. So this one is definitely piquing my interest. This is with a 11% rate of return that I'm requiring with the name here. So I would possibly build maybe a little bit more safety, looking at it probably closer to $24, $25 a share. We can see the 52-week range is sitting at 26.22 to 42.19. So obviously this is a pretty volatile name overall, but I definitely think when it gets below that, I definitely think that low 26, maybe high 24 range, this is an interesting one to take a stab at, I think, for a small cap company that is actually starting to get some decent fundamentals underneath it. Another one that got knocked down pretty hard was Akamai Technologies. This is a cybersecurity company doing almost $4 billion in revenue, showing actually pretty strong growth in the cybersecurity. More of their legacy names have been lagging, and we saw that hit in earnings, and that's why we saw the stock go from 102 down to $75 a share. Now, if this gets back into the 70s, I'd probably be looking at adding into this one too, trading at a forward PE of around 12, 13 times earnings. And most analysts have over a $100 price target on this name as well. So I'm finding these mid to small cap names that are starting to get some fundamentals underneath them that still have some growth behind them, get pretty interesting at these levels. Now, of course, any sort of market pullback, I think everything goes down, and unfortunately, small caps usually get hammered the hardest. I think that can be tremendous future returns getting in quality names at these levels. So as always, I think there's a lot of interesting things going on. I know a lot of people think I probably lean a little bit more bearish, but want to show you guys where I think the S&P 500 best case, worst case, and middle case scenario is. Want to kind of talk through some smaller names that are not getting mentioned that I think are becoming pretty interesting. Obviously, these are higher risk, higher reward names. And then obviously, there's a couple mega tech companies here that, are getting historically cheap when we look at something like Amazon or we look at something like Google. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate your time, and we will see you all in the next one.